going through a struggle, you unhappy, look at it. It's a process. Look at it, live it, let it digest.
Experience your emotions.
Yes.
Saying, live through your emotions. Hello to everyone. Hello to all our viewers. It is my pleasure to be here today and to be with Dany Ross to interview the creator of the Human Connection YouTube channel and to share some of her experiences, to reveal some of her insights and to show how we can provide more value to you. My name is ELINA STOYLAR and I'm very honored. I want to thank you, Dany, for allowing me to do this interview with you. We have recently met at a beautiful, incredible experience,
Yes.
a spiritual trip that we've had in Peru.
So
And we have connected on a great level,
Yes.
and so it is really my pleasure to be here and to share this with you. So Dany, thank you. And I will, I guess I will have to, I was thinking about the questions that I'm going to ask you today. And I think the most natural way to start it would be to ask you to really maybe share a little bit more deeper about the motivation and what brought you as a beginner, as a creator for the channel, for the Human Connection channel. What was it that pushed you to do that?
Thank you. First, I want to thank you, Elina,
Of course.
for this interview, and to say how lucky I am to have met you during that trip.
Thank you.
I
thank
mean, we don't know a lot, but we felt like soul sister, you know, even
Correct.
with a different of age and everything.
Yes.
So thank you
Of
for
course,
this
it's my
interview.
pleasure.
It's a change. Usually I interview people. This time I'm interviewing. I'm a little bit shy, but you know. So how did I start that channel? I must say it was after a big struggle. I won't go there too long because when you go on my channel, you can see a little bit of my story. And honestly, it was like a calling. I really received it like a calling, because after, you know, like I'm 70, and after living different life, I had this cancer, and I was like, I thought my life was over. Honestly, I didn't want to live, but all of a sudden I said no. I had that strength is me, because I was somebody strong, but I lost my strength. I became very vulnerable, and that was fantastic, because in the vulnerability
There is power.
there is so much
Can
power.
be power as
There's
well.
power.
For sure.
And I always dreamt of, I had so much admiration for people when they do an interview, you know, like talking to heart. And first I said, oh, I'm not sure I can do it, you know. But then I had this calling, and I had some friends very close from me, much younger. They say, you know what, Dany, do it. You should do it. You have this connection with people. And I love to connect with people, and I'm very curious.
The magic touch.
The magic touch.
Yes.
So that's how I started my Human Connection channel.
Fantastic, fantastic. And so to follow through that, another thing that I was curious about, because we have in this interview as friends, as female to female, something to do with female feminine energy, how would you say you balance sometimes in life, in work, in family? How do you balance being feminine and being strong, being a mother and being a sister, being a friend, how do you embrace and how do you balance between the different roles that us as women have to take, and particularly about the strength and the femininity?
So I would say there is no magic recipe. First, I would say just be authentic, and you know, sometimes you're very weak, sometimes you're stronger. But what I would say to the women mainly, do not try to be perfect, because you know, like, you can be a perfect man and maybe not such a good wife, or you can be a great worker, and sometimes sometimes during your life you can be either, you know what I mean? So being feminine, it's all about attitude. It's you need to have your boundaries too, okay? Because women who have this tendency, oh, we have to please,
Too giving, too pleasing.
and our kids and our husband.
Let's talk a little bit more about
Okay.
the boundaries. I think that's a very interesting topic that I think it's very relevant to a lot of people in general, but I think particularly to women as
Yes.
well.
So it's quite it's not easy to have boundaries, but took me a long time. Took me.
To establish.
I would say I have my boundaries for the last 1-2 years only, but it's at one point you have to respect yourself, because if you do not respect yourself, either you're sick or you feel like a victim, or you're sad, and all of a sudden you don't understand yourself, and then you become a victim, and there's nothing worse. So that's why I say put your boundaries. I'm not telling you it's easy. It's not easy, because you can feel guilty maybe, but it's worth it. Have your boundaries, and I always go back to the same thing. Just be authentic.
Be yourself.
Be
So that's a
yourself.
big advice. Being
Yeah.
yourself.
Being yourself.
Sure.
Yeah.
Fantastic. What about because you started talking a little bit about the vulnerability, what about the notion of being vulnerable and having the power and vulnerability and surrendering? What do you think about that?
Wow, I think vulnerability, it's such a great gift when you find it, because much younger I had a big ego, and I thought that in life you need to have a big ego, willpower, to achieve things, to do that, which is true.
To lead with
To lead
with it.
Yeah, we need, but
Mhm.
don't let your ego be your master. Your ego is like your mind is like a tool, but be aware of it. Be aware, like it
Manage it to your
Yeah,
advantage
in
and
some-
don't let it take
Yes.
over.
in some reaction, like
Mhm.
sometimes it's okay. And when you're young, it's okay to have a big ego, and you like to look good and attract. But I touched vulnerability after the cancer, and I was totally like on the floor, and I thought that was it. And I had a coach who talked to me, and finally touching my vulnerability, it was the biggest gift, because yes, as we were saying, you have the strengths, but with the vulnerability you are much more empathic with people.
It's like the other side of the coin of strength, right?
Exactly, it's the other side.
And so just recently, about a week ago, I was at a dinner party, and there were two people that mentioned a very interesting book that I'm intending to read, but it has to do a little bit with the vulnerability. So it's called The Surrender Experience by Michael Singer. They really said that it changed their life, the ability to surrender what they've learned from that book. So I thought it was somewhat relevant to mention it in
It's
our
fantastic.
conversation.
It's fantastic that you touched that point, because surrender, it's like it's kind of a detachment, okay?
In a way, yes.
In a way. And as a woman of certain age, mainly women, we have to learn how to detach. First we detach for, our kids, if we have, or many things, of our youth, of this beautiful skin, of beautiful thing, we have to detach probably from some emotional, trauma or emotional
Experiences that you've had in life, yes.
And the detachment, once you manage to do it, it's surrender. It's fantastic. But it does not mean like because you manage to do it, sometimes it's not going to come back. Because life always come back and send you some tests.
More messages to see
Yeah.
how well you've mastered it
Yeah.
through another experience.
You think you have
or-
mastered it, you say, oh my God,
Don't let the ego get too strong.
Exactly.
Don't let it play that
Yes.
game with you.
Exactly.
For sure.
So surrendering, I think it's a great thing, and the detachment, and when you go through struggle, now, before we said you have to be positive. Now I hate that word. It's personally. It's like, no, you're going through a struggle, you're unhappy, look at it. It's a process. Look at it, live it, let it digest.
Experience your emotions.
Yes.
You're saying live through your emotions as
Exactly.
opposed to pretending.
Yeah,
that
Yeah.
everything is nice and dandy.
Yeah.
Don't ignore. Don't
ignore it.
Don't
Don't say,
harbor it.
oh, it's okay, be positive. No,
Mhm.
you just, it's a process. And then, once you have lived that emotion, you see, oop, you let it go. But again, that's my perception, and I tell you, it's not easy, and even sometimes you're sure you got it, and boom, you have another test.
Another lesson in life that gets to you.
Yeah, but it's worth
Fantastic.
it. It's worth it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I guess the next question that I wanted to address is a question of learning and growing in our lives through adversity. So, Dany, if you've had a chance to watch some of her interviews, you've interviewed a lot of interesting people on this channel in different languages, and really brought out a lot of their experiences, some of the experiences that were very challenging in their lives, and really touched on a lot of the points of how they've learned and how they've grown through adversity in their lives. So I know that from the very beginning, as you said, you started it from being in a vulnerable point in your life, but can you expand a little bit on that or on other things that you've learned in life, and give people that watch us today and watch the channel some ideas and some values to how they can learn, how they can grow through adversity, maybe some examples?
So, in adversity, the first things you need to do, if you can, it's have resilience. It's resilience. Again, it's accepting. Like people go through war. I interviewed my first interview about this man who, like there was the war, and with his brother, they escaped, so he could not see his parents, he could not see. This man now is 82 years old. He's got so much resilience, he's got so much joy, and he has no hate against the people, who at that point, who were like during that war. And it's like this man who was in jail, what's the name? I forgot his name. Anyway, he went in jail and he said, I thank you, my enemies.
So perspective is so
it's
important.
a perspective.
Living through it, letting it go, not holding on to it.
And when we were with the shaman, by the way, in Machu Picchu, he told us, when in a situation, you always have like 5 ways of looking at the situation. So sometimes it looks like, how can I come out of that, of this adversity? It can be a death, it can be a sexual trauma, whatever, or the wars. And we always can come out of it. And you know what? If you have your open heart, if you believe in yourself, and if you have human, that's why I called it human connection.
The human connection.
Because without the other connection to people, without help of people, we just nothing. But you have to be aware, and you have to be open. That's how you can come of, I think, adversity.
And
Believe it.
acceptance.
And
acceptance. I think
Definitely.
acceptance is a very important point.
Yeah.
Because then you resist less.
Because
it's
course.
easier to be resilient, it's easier to perform,
Yeah.
it's easier to do everything once you really accept and just move forward.
And
with
move
whatever.
forward. And then after, I know, on a short time, it's quite difficult. But on a long time, the work you're doing on yourself helps. Number 1, you feel much more happy. Number 2, people around you are more comfortable with you. And I would say the whole world, if the whole world was doing this kind of resilience and all that,
And acceptance
we
and that
would
kind
have-
of work.
we would have a better world,
And a better connection.
Yeah, I don't want to be too utopist, but I think this is true. I've experienced that the better I feel, and the more in peace I am, in harmony I am, everything around me open, things open. And now I want to talk about Machu Picchu.
Sure. We should talk about that. So we just shared a fabulous journey about 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
We went to Peru, and it was super special. I think for both of us, it was very special.
Yes.
And I will say that one of the advice pieces of advice that we got from the spiritual leader that was with us is that Nicolas, yes, Nicolas Bakar, the shaman, he said that you really need to have the ambition to bring the experience and what you've seen and the energy that you've seen into your everyday life.
Exactly.
So I'm going to ask you, how do you view this, and how to share about how you're going to, possibly through this channel, I would think amazing too.
Yeah, because his interview is coming out very soon, in 2 weeks actually.
How to make it shine, how to bring out your purpose, your intention and your experience, the high energy vibration experience that you've had. How do you have the ambition to bring it into your daily life?
So one thing he talked to us, and that was interesting, he talked to us a lot about the water we have inside, the 70% of water we have inside of us and all that. And that whenever I'm sad or I cry now, I let myself. He told us, that's very important, that whenever you want to cry, it's good. It's energy. It's like all the energy we get stuck inside, tied up, come out. So that was, to me, one very important. Talk a lot about Pachamama, the earth,
the connection with the earth that we have,
the connection with the cosmos, which is like the father. And two, one of the biggest lessons said, it's the people who hurt you most in your life, which is always the closest of you, are your biggest master. So whenever you're going through,
the hardest experience, the hardest of hardship,
know that this person can be your best friend, can be your mother, can be your child, is your master at that time.
Your biggest lesson.
You have something to learn from it. So it was a great experience, and it was fantastic because I met ELINA that way, and it was a great experience.
Fantastic. Well, I want to thank you again for having me here. I want to thank you all for watching it. I hope you find value in this, and I hope you get to know Dany, the creator of the channel, better, and that you continue to watch and support this amazing initiative.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, my dear.
And don't forget to
subscribe and click the button.
And click the button. Yeah, forget
click the
like, because I want to go on doing that, and I'm saying that in a very humble way. If I want to keep doing that and travel and meeting people from all over the world
and
sharing
share
your
the knowledge,
experience,
yes,
I need to have people watching it. So
thank you very much for being here, and thank you for your support. Thank you, my dear.
Thank you, ELINA.
Thank you, my dear.
Thank you.